And that's a big realization, I think, for a lot of trans people when they have their first T for T relationship, is like, oh, I can be understood and accepted. That was the first time that I was able to feel in some way seen for who I was and loved for who I was. Yeah, I think there is something very magical about being loved by other trans people that's very healing.
So when people read about Jasmine.4.t, they'll read about you putting out EPs in 2019,
yes,
and touring with Lucy Dacus.
Yes.
Starting to transition through COVID,
yeah,
whilst having long COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, those are two big things to go through, whilst also going through a marriage, going through a marriage ending.
Yeah.
Those are three big life events.
Yes.
That happen seemingly in quick succession when you read it like that.
Yeah.
Did it feel like just one after the other in those years, in those times?
I was a very busy person before COVID. And then, yeah, I got very sick with COVID. I was just in bed for 6 months. And then I decided to transition. After that, everything happened very quickly. I had to escape my marriage, and I escaped Bristol and moved to Manchester. And then, yeah, transitioned. I was writing songs. I was, sleeping on people's floors and going through a lot of shit, but building a new life that was very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was a lot. And I had PTSD from all of the trauma of that time. I had very effective trauma therapy. I'm doing much better now.
Great to hear.
Yeah.
When songwriting is in the mix there, was it helpful you could write songs in that time, or was that just another thing that was kind of weighing on you, knowing that you're a songwriter?
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah, I often think, looking back now, at least I got a good song out of it. Do you know what I mean? Got a few good songs out of it. I got a hell of a lot of songs out of it. And yeah, I think for a lot of people, that's kind of that's an outlet, you know, and it definitely is for me. And I always am writing as I'm going through stuff, and that's like the most sort of prolific times for me, is like when I'm going through this stuff. Mm-hmm.
You can write about that as they're happening.
It's not even consciously like a part of my therapy and my processing, but it very much is. It's just like, you know, it's just what I do. It's I'm sad and I sing about it. I guess, yeah.
There's that one line in Elephant where I might be getting it slightly wrong or paraphrasing, but I now have a future, so now I can never be late.
Yeah, because now I have a future, it could never be too late.
Yeah.
And yeah, the idea is that like what I was going through then was, I was just in such a bad place after everything that had happened. I'd also had like a few violent hate crimes recently, and I'd just met this incredible trans person who I'd fallen in love with very quickly. We kind of had a bit of a will we, won't we, and we decided we won't, because we were both in really bad places with our mental health. We would just like hang out, and we'd be like, oh, well, maybe one day. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's what that song is about. And it's about, the elephant in the room being like your feelings for each other. Yeah, that line, now I have a future, it can never be too late, is about, like looking forward to us being together, basically. And it'll take as long as it takes. It's about like being like, oh, I am lovable. And that's a big realization, I think, for a lot of trans people when they have their first T for T relationship, is like, oh, I can be understood and accepted. And then, thankfully I've met cis people who love and accept me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there is something very magical about being loved by other trans people that's very healing.
Was that the first time you properly felt that?
Yes. Yeah. That was the first time that I was able to feel in some way seen for who I was, and loved for who I was.
Yeah. I mean, great to hear. It's also sad, isn't it? You want to feel loved from day one.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very sad, because I think, you know, for a lot of people, it for a lot of trans people, it really affects your your family relationships and your your old friendships, and it shouldn't really, because I feel like I am who I've always been. I'm just sort of being truer to myself now. It's so sad that it's so hard to feel accepted for that, even after you've accepted yourself. Yeah, it results in so many trans people having to leave their relationships, leave their families, and lose their jobs, become homeless, and yeah, it's just there's so much systemic transphobia, and it plays out in so many different ways in society and in our families and our friendships, and it's a very difficult existence until you find yourself in community and you meet other queer people who love and accept you.
And to be able to talk about it, I know that sounds like such a pedestrian thing to say, talk about something, but I imagine within those communities you can talk about it.
Yeah, no, I think that is a big thing. And what's wonderful is that like there are so many groups out there now of people who are like looking for other queer people who are, not yet in contact with their community. Like in Manchester, there's this group called Just Do the Thing, and that's how I met like a lot of my band, actually.
Yeah.
And it's just for trans femmes to meet up and like talk about the issues that trans femme people face. And it's such a magical thing. It seems like such a basic thing, but there are these groups all over the world, and I've often found people message me from some rural place in America, and they've been like, oh, I wish I could have the confidence to like come out, and a few of them have come to my shows and have come out to me, but like they're not out in their day-to-day life, and they're still presenting as whatever gender they were assigned at birth. They'll be like, what do I do? And I'll be like, well, just I just Google like local meetup groups for them, and turn up to this group, and a lot of the time they do, and they'll message me weeks or months later, and like I've found my best friends, and like that's the most important first step, is just like finding your people.
And your band, they're all trans people, they're all trans femme?
Yes, yeah. My band are all trans femme. So we've had like a few different lineups now.
You've got a great drummer.
Trans femme. Yeah, well, we've had lots of great drummers. I don't know which drummer you're referring to.
The most recent one, Wide Awake.
Yes, that was Maeve.
Maeve's great drummer.
She's absolutely incredible. She's like one of the greatest hardcore drummers that there is out there, and also one of the greatest drummers, full stop, and definitely one of the greatest trans femme drummers there are out there. And we've just been in the studio with her as well, and just like what an incredible experience to be able to like hear her play. We were recording in Rack, which is like a really cool recording studio.
Is that where the Kinks recorded?
Yes, I think so. It's where so many things have been recorded.
Too many.
One of the guitars I played was the acoustic guitar from Stairway to Heaven, which is crazy.
Was
where the Benz was recorded. I can't remember which Cure album, but one of the Cure albums was recorded.
I think one of the jobs of being in a band now, or being an artist, is like the message that you share. I don't know if it's just my experience, it could be me being naive, but growing up as a teenager, pop punk was the biggest thing, right? It was like American Pie, and then that was it, right? And maybe the Shins from Scrubs.
Oh my god, yes, of course, yeah.
And like the OC soundtrack was killer.
Yeah, and Garden State.
God, it's good. If it's got Zach Braff in it, the songs are good.
But
I feel like now there's a lot of messages that you're getting from artists.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like inclusivity or kind of awareness, or being like, this is who we are. Who are you? You can join us. Like, what are you looking for? Whether it's political or socially political, or like kind of ethics and morals. I feel like there's a lot. It's an exciting time to live in music for that, I think.
Do you think there's more of that now than there was before?
For me, yeah. What I'm listening to, yeah.
Interesting.
How about you?
Yeah, I think maybe you're right. I think maybe it's more explicit now. I think it was always there, and in music, um, just thinking about like I grew up listening to when I was very young Jimi Hendrix and Bob Dylan, and I think they're both very political.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I think later like Elliott Smith, and then like various various artists who feature on the Garden State soundtrack, and then who are maybe less political actually. Yeah, I think when you're writing from like an experience of being from like some marginalized or oppressed group, then anything you create is automatically politicized, whether or not it is personally for you. Like my album isn't really about my transness. It's mostly love songs, but a lot of people interpret things to be about my transness when they're not. And I don't mind that. And I think like, you know, as a trans woman, like, and especially like when I was writing these songs early in my transition, like a lot of my life was about my transness. And you know, there are songs which are very explicitly about the trans experience, like Highfield, which is very much about street violence. But yeah, I think the rest of the album is just love songs really. And but they're love songs which are about trans people. I think not being political in this current environment would be immoral. I think there's so much to be angry about. I'm very angry about how trans people are treated in this world, and I talk about that a lot. And yeah, I think we all should.
Yeah.
There's like so much injustice going on around the world right now, and I think there needs to be more solidarity between people from different backgrounds and in different groups.
What are you writing about at the moment? You're tracking some songs today.
Yeah, I mean, these are all again mostly love songs, but I'm very much singing them about my best friend, Yulia, who's currently in prison. She's one of the Filton 18, who are all alleged to be associated with an action that happened in Bristol at a weapons factory, an Israeli weapons factory, the Albert headquarters.
Albert, yeah.
And a bunch of people allegedly went in with sledgehammers and smashed up a bunch of drones, and a whole load of people you know, who are associated with that protest or other protests have had terrorism charges slapped on them and are being held without trial for 2 years or more. And it's just like a gross misuse of terror legislation. And very similar things that are happening in the US right now. And yeah, my best friend Yulia is one of these people. And we miss her so much. And she's been subjected to sensory torture. She's been kept in the rehab wing, so she's surrounded by screaming people all the time, and she's not allowed to turn the light off. And her conditions are terrible. And she's autistic, and she's bulimic, and she's really struggling. And we're very worried that she won't make it the 2 years till her trial. We're worried that she won't survive, and I think there's a high likelihood that she won't survive. And it's heartbreaking. So, and I'm going to visit her tomorrow. It's near Heathrow, so I'm taking the opportunity of being in the area. But it's you know, it's really expensive to visit her usually because we're up in Manchester. All of her friends and her family and her partner are up in Manchester, and it costs a fortune to get across the country. And often there isn't public transport at that time, so you have to like stay the night in Heathrow, which is really expensive. So yeah, it's a nightmare what the UK government is doing to its citizens. And yeah, it's disgraceful, and yeah, we're all really suffering as a consequence. But yeah, that's what I'm singing about at the moment. And yeah, there's 2 songs three songs actually that I think are very much about her, even though at the time they weren't written about her. But I definitely have her in mind whenever I sing them now. And yeah, they're called "Did You Know," and "I Can't Believe I Did This Without You," and I don't think that anyone else could hold the same place in my heart. You know, she used to like come on tour with us, and she used to make these friendship bracelets. I actually have one of them on right now. It's this 1312. And yeah, she'd sell them for Trans Mutual Aid at all of our shows, and she'd do all the merch, and she'd roadie for us, and she she was a big part of protecting us as well. Like, she's cis, and she would get between us and people who were trying to hurt us or molest us. And yeah, she saved me a lot of times from people who were trying to harm me. And yeah, so doing this without her is kind of terrifying. Like touring the world without the person who makes me feel safest. All of the fights that we're fighting, they're all nuanced, but it's all just like part of the same fight against fascism right now, against capitalism. And yeah, we all just need to join up and try and understand each other and fight together.
Yeah.
And I think there's, I do think that a lot of the time, yeah, disabled people are very much left out of conversations in social justice, and people see disabled people as there's not anything that we can do, because, you know, maybe it's some inherent thing, but it's not. It's society that disables people by not meeting people's access needs, and it's society that's systemically discriminating against disabled people. And I think people don't see it in the same light as they do for the struggle for Black lives, for trans lives. And I think, yeah, there needs to be more solidarity with disabled people in general.
Yeah.
That's something I think about a lot.
In live music and accessible venues is a big one.
Yes, no, definitely. And it's so shit, like, how difficult it is to do an accessible tour. We try to do an accessible as possible tour, and it sucked, basically. A lot of our shows that we played in our recent UK tour weren't wheelchair accessible, and there was, like, you know, at least one flight of stairs between the door and the venue. And in a lot of places that we played, a lot of places had like uneven floor, but there is a lot that you can still do. And I think even just communicating ahead of time the kind of accessibility of a venue, you know, how many stairs there are between the door and the venue is really helpful for a lot of people. But also just like things like don't have flashing lights. Like, a lot of people just don't like them anyway. I don't really like them anyway. But obviously, they give people seizures, and a lot of people don't know that they're going to have a seizure until the first time they have a seizure. You could have a seizure the next time you go to a show, you know? So just don't have flashing lights is quite an obvious one. Have gender-neutral toilets. Advertise whether there's gender-neutral toilets. If there's not gender-neutral toilets, then, like, find out where there are. Find out whether there are accessible toilets if there aren't accessible toilets. So it's, yeah, there's a lot of very basic stuff. Having a few seats will make a huge difference to some people, you know.
Yeah, a lot of things to Google.
A lot
of things to Google ahead of going to a venue. Is there that?
Yes, no, exactly. And I think as an artist, like, taking that load off your fans is just a nice thing to do. You know, they're supporting you, you can support them.
Yeah. How do you think you've done it, you know, as an adult? I mean, I think there's one thing being in a band when you're teenagers, when you can stay at hopefully your parents' house or family's house, and then once you go out, and, you know, I think a lot of people in our generation were the first people to go to uni in their family, because it was you could borrow the money. But after that, when you need to pay rent, when you need to do life, with a capital L, how do you keep on? How do you think you've kept on playing music?
I mean, like, I wouldn't be able to do it had I not been middle class and had a well-paying job. Like it's an incredibly inaccessible industry, and it's shit. So many other, and also like even just for going to gigs nowadays, they're so expensive. It's so expensive to put on shows because like independent venues are all really struggling, and there's like a few massive corporations that own the entire industry and are pushing everyone else out. Other countries do very basic shit, like if you put on a big show at an arena, then all the tickets have like a small levy on them, which supports local artists and venues. And I think stuff like that is important for a healthy music industry. But I think just like in general, just like healthy everything, that same principle can be applied to so many things, you know.
Another form of accessibility, working class people who can't afford to be in those places.
No, exactly. And but yeah, and there's so many wonderful working class bands who just will never get a chance because you can't tour when you don't have the money. It's so expensive to tour, and you have to take time off work, and you have to have a huge amount of savings, and most of the time, like I had parental support. And yeah, I was just very lucky to be privileged enough to go to Oxford, get a really good degree, and subsequently get a good enough job that I could support myself, and then take sabbatical leave and tour. And that's what I did. And now I've quit my job, but there's so many dominoes that had to be set up to allow that to happen. And I was born into it, and other people aren't.
I think there's a changing tide now. People are starting to talk more about working in jobs while playing music.
Yeah.
I think for a long time people were, I don't want to say embarrassed by it, but maybe wouldn't want to bring it up because, I mean, that's not the important thing. The important thing is the music. But I think there was has been, and definitely, still is like a slight stigma about like talking about like, oh fuck, I'm a bit skint. How am I going to do this? Like, going back to retail on Monday, going back to the supermarket, going back to wherever you're working. I think that's an empowering thing for me, is people talking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is the way it should be. It's people should talk about it.
It's stupid that there's so much stigma around it. But like I totally understand where that comes from, because we live in a society where people are shamed for being poor. But it's the society that should be shamed. I don't think anyone is at fault for being poor or for working a low paid job. There are so many brilliant artists that haven't been able to make it because of their financial struggles. And a lot of them are from the trans community, and a lot of them are just my friends in Manchester, and it's shit. And but no, I do think more people are talking about it now. I know that like Los Campesinos talk about it a lot. They always have. Love those guys. Yeah, we opened for them recently. That was really cool.
Quality at Troxy.
Yes, at Troxy.
I missed it. What an amazing venue.
Yeah, it was so cool. Kate Nash talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
I fucking love Kate Nash. Shout out Kate Nash. But yeah, I would, I'm still thinking about like, what am I gonna do if it doesn't work out this year for me? How am I gonna do all the things that I need to do? How am I gonna support myself? And yeah, like I think being a software engineer is, a well-paying job. So like I'm lucky enough to like have to worry less about that than most people would. But then like there are so many people who don't have that luxury and have to hold on to a job while touring, which is so difficult. A lot of people, work shift work and bank work. While I was applying for jobs after uni for 2 years, I was just working NHS, admin, bank, which was fun. Actually, I met a lot of wonderful people, and a lot of musicians actually do that. But yeah, I think it's getting more and more difficult to find those kinds of roles now, especially after COVID. and especially with like increasing privatization and cuts, there is just like very little wiggle room in these kinds of jobs now, and people get into them and they hold on to them because they're such valuable jobs, you know.
101. Hey, good to chat. Lovely to meet.
Yeah, you too.
I've got one more question, and it is related to obviously working 101 jobs, and those I feel like everyone has like 1 or 2 days that they're really happy ended. You know, those days where you just like, I cannot wait for the shift to finish because something's gone wrong, because you fucked something up, because you're hungover as shit, or you are just, you know, you've broken something. I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit.
No, I know exactly what one thing just jumped into mind. It was that job when I was working on the bread slicer, and I hadn't slept because me and my girlfriend had an argument, and I was really sad. And I came into work at 6 a.m. and the boss was like, "You clearly haven't slept." And I was like, "Yeah, no." And he was like, "Why? What's going on?" And I was like, "Well, me and my girlfriend had an argument." He was like, "I didn't ask for the details." And I was just so sad.
Yeah, that's a big slap in the face.
That sucked. And I had to work 8 hours slicing bread.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Into the depths.
Yeah. I'm sober now, thank God. But yeah, I had a bit of an alcohol problem through teenage years and university.
How long have you been sober?
I'm fully sober. Well, I've relapsed a couple of times, but 2 or 3 years now. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. You enjoying it? Does it feel good?
Yeah. I didn't really enjoy drinking.
By the end of it,
I'm not a good drunk at all.
I've been going through a stage of having 2 pints and going home.
Oh yeah.
And fortunate that I can do that.
Yeah.
You know, I understand not everyone can do that. Right?
Yeah.
2 pints or 10 pints.
Yeah.
But 10 pints maybe once a year.
The alternative.
Yeah.
I think working in the office, I think the worst thing was data entry. I used to do data entry for like children's services at Southmead Hospital in Bristol, and some days like that, just like the system would break, so you'd have to like print everything out and like enter it by hand into like these, just like the forms like didn't work properly, and like you couldn't like tab between things.
Okay.
And it was just like really inefficient.
Very manual.
Like, yeah, very very manual. So yeah, any of those days. And then some days the printer would break as well. So you would have to write down all of the referrals, like all of the details from the referrals by hand, and like triple check them, obviously, because you don't want to like write down a child's referral wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then like enter them all by hand. Oh God.
Bit of pressure. A lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. For like a very low paid job. Those were horrible times.
Lovely to meet. You got some fresh pizza coming on the way.
Yeah.
When do we think we're going to hear
Exciting.
the new songs? I'm probably not allowed to say.
I would tell you, but I don't know.
Well, looking forward to them.
Yeah. I'm still recovering from a cold, which is why my voice is a bit croaky at the moment. But we recorded all but 2 notes today.
All but 2 notes.
Yes, there are 2 notes that I can't hit because my voice is so croaky. So we're going to do them tomorrow night, hopefully.
Okay, good to hear. I was going to say, you don't really want to put yourself out, but sometimes the vocals can sound cool.
They're very it definitely has helped with the kind of, you know, this kind of fry. But yeah, I don't want to strain. It's just like these 2 notes which are like just on the edge of my break, and they get a bit squeaky when I really go for it. So we do have it down, but I'm not very happy with it. So we're gonna try again tomorrow night after I visit Yulia.
For people who want to know about Yulia, how can people help?
freeyulia.com is a website that our best friend Han has made for Yulia, and there's details there about how you can help. I think the most important thing right now is writing to your MP, especially if you are living in Surrey or Manchester, and just making sure that they are aware that a lot of people have their eyes on all of these cases where terrorism legislation is being misused against protesters, and asking for Yulia to have better conditions in prison because her conditions are terrible. And yeah, raising awareness. There's a lot of resources there as well. And
We'll put the link in bio.
thank you. And also, there's a solidarity fund for her, because as I mentioned, visiting Yulia and arranging visits for her family is very expensive. And also just like sending Yulia essentials in prison, warm clothes and blankets. So yeah, if people can chip in for that as well, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the description of this episode.
Amazing. Thank you.
No, thanks for chatting with us.
Thank you.
Cheers for watching. This is 101 Part-Time Jobs. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and all podcast apps. We've done interviews with Aurora, Kneecap, Idols, Laura Maybury of Churches, and loads more. So tap into 101 Part-Time Jobs on Spotify, Apple, and all podcast apps.